to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. And as you can see today, we have a very substantial and sensational guest, a gentleman that I've been lucky enough to get to know lately as we've been running in the same circles, running around doing wine events all over the country, and a gentleman that really set the bar in the American wine world. I will let you introduce yourself to the Vayner Nation and the Vayniacs and tell them who you are and what you do, my friend. Thanks for being
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks for being here.
Tim Hanai. Hand-eye. Like hand-eye coordination.
Wow, I like it.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Damn, if I had
so,
a name.
Yeah.
I just think that while you talk, I'll think
no,
of things I could have done.
Let's see.
Go ahead.
Whether Vane or chuck it out the window.
This wild and exciting guy has some pretty serious credentials.
Pretty serious credentials.
Okay,
so my credentials, I'm something called a Master of Wine. I was the first American in history to pass the rigorous Master of Wine examination. But that's okay. I got over it. Joel Butler, my good friend, and I, 1990, we passed the Master of Wine examination. I'm a chef by training. So I've been cooking and doing wine since I was younger than Gary. Way younger than Gary. Like
crazy.
Really young. So what I do is
Let me jump in real quick.
Yeah,
Jump in.
Jump in.
How many Master of Wines are there still to this day? Now, you did this in 1990, if I remember, right?
Right.
And how many are there right now of 2008? Do you know the number?
I think it's about, in the world, there's 279. And that's
in... Do you see how Mott reacted?
50,
I wanted people to understand...
55 years.
I mean, it's a scary low number.
Yeah, it's like 5 people a
You're
year.
like a Jedi.
I am like a Jedi.
I mean, let's be honest. He's a wine Jedi. And how many Americans... 43?
Oh, no, about 26, I think, now.
26.
Yeah,
I think about 26.
We've got, yeah.
I would know, too. That's very neat. So, it's a little bit more, because it's a wine show, and I think people, we don't talk about Masters of Wine that often. Give the Vayniacs a little bit of a sum up of how rigorous this test really is.
Well, first of all, there a lot of times there's people called master sommeliers also. Just to differentiate, master sommeliers are an unbelievably challenging test. Really great people, and
usually cooler than you Master of Wines too.
Yeah, they are a little hip. Well, they're more social.
They're much
We
hipper.
tend to be loners and
rude.
Rude.
Yeah.
Totally rude. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so the Master of Wine program is about the arts, sciences, and business, and it's a lot of the business of wine. So when I took it, it was a 4-day examination, and now it's a 3-day examination and a dissertation, a 10,000-word dissertation. There's a 2-year study course. You can go to mastersofwine.org if you want to go see it. Yeah.
And the blind tasting is pretty serious.
Blind tasting's really serious because basically what you're doing is you're writing a paper, a technical paper on each of the wines. So it's this
isn't like Merlot.
Yeah, exactly.
Give us an example. If this was a wine that was blind.
Well, actually, I had lunch with Jim Clendenin yesterday.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so I was driving up Edna Valley. That's why I look so haggard right now, because I took the red eye.
You normally look haggard.
Yeah, thank you. Saying me and Merle. So there's 3 days of blind tasting, and each day you have 12 wines. And they can be from anywhere in the world. And sort of the seminal point of my blind tasting in 1990 was we were doing 12 red wines, and they were broken down into subgroups. And I had done the first 3, and I had done the last 4, and I had this group of 5 in the middle. And I'm writing my notes, and I was just stuck. And that's really bad, because then you start trying harder.
And
then you're really screwed.
I mean, when people blind taste, when you get together, if you ever do blind tastings with a bunch of friends, always go with that first reaction. If you've really if you feel like you have a good palate, you've tasted a lot of wines. I mean, to me, the amount of times where I was right the first time and outthought myself.
Well, and that's perfect, because here I
needed you on my shoulder.
I know,
like a Yoda-like character saying, "Gary."
I'm really good at blind tasting if I cheat.
Yeah, me too.
And I do often. But you can't on this one. So here I am with these 5 wines, and I'm running out of time, because you're under a time limit also. And they're each from a different country, and you're supposed to state the variety or varieties, the methods of maceration, pre-fermentation treatments and handlings, and then name the wine as nearly as possible. So I'm just about ready to start on the first wine and make a grave error. And I said, no, just relax. And I pushed the wines back. Now, I've created a tasting process that is basically like the syllabus of the whole examination. So you start with all the different conditions and varieties and blah, blah, and it's very deductive. And so I said, so I read my notes, and I said, well, if I read my notes, I would say that was a Santa Barbara Pinot Noir, and I'll bet you it's Au Bon Clement. And actually, Jim Clendenin had heard this story. So once I nailed that, then everything else kind of fell in place. And one of the wines was a Fougère. And I had never had a Fougère or a Minervois at the time. And I actually picked it as a Minervois, so I was just the appellation right next door. And there you go. So it's just it's like when computer.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So what happened? You win this Master of Wine award. I mean, do the groupies come out? Do like the 18-year-old blondes just scream your name?
Yeah. So what? I had just gotten freshly divorced, and I was in like this real crisis.
Oh, so they did.
Yeah. And Bob Foley from Pride Vineyards.
Yes. Rock and roll Bob.
Yeah. We played in a band together.
Yep.
And so. I had gotten our band the gig to play at the B.R. Cohen big golf rock and roll event. I'd bought a guitar at the auction last year.
Is it the guitar or the golf club?
The guitar, golf I suck at. I suck at guitar, but I married the singer in the band. So what happened was we're practicing like crazy, and Bob was the winemaker at Markham, and I was now divorced, and I was looking at our lead singer, and she was just hot.
Smoking.
Really smoking.
Right. Way out of your league.
Yeah, way out of my league. So I invited her over to my house on Manly Lane because she wasn't getting along with her husband and she was getting ready to move out.
I see.
Yeah, so I married her. Yeah, I got the hot blonde. You can go to toastedheads.com to see our band and listen to some clips and see my hot smoking wife.
Tell the Vayner Nation what this craziness is in front of you. So this master of wine, and here you are with some spices. Tell us about.
So I'm a chef, and now I'm a master of wine. And for the longest time, I'm just, you've got two wine experts together, and they're having the same wine and the same food, and somebody says, oh, this is the perfect mariage of the terroir and whatever, and so he goes, no, it sucks. And it's like, who's right? So it becomes this argument.
Both.
And you read in books or you read online. I've got a whole list of all these contradictions. Do this, don't do that. Follow the rules. There are no rules. And so about 20 years ago, I started investigating what the hell's going on with this wine and food crap. And I come from a very, very classical background, mind you. And I systematically have gotten to the point where we can disprove every facet of wine and food matching that exists today. And in its place, I promote what's called flavor balancing. And I work with chefs all around the world, Ritz-Carlton's, Jeremiah Tower, 3-star Michelin chefs, who I've trained in flavor balancing. So a friend of mine was at Mondavi, watched their executive chef, Sarah Scott, doing the presentation that she was part of this whole revolution, and he said, well, shit, let's put that in a jar and sell it.
Brilliant.
So there you go. So that's what we did. So what Vignon is a product. We've been out just about a year. Mm-hmm. It's in 50 or so wineries. Sarah Scott cooks with this every day. It's a blend of sea salt. How much is
something like this suggested retail?
SRP is $5.99.
And so what you claim, right, through 20 years of research, is that you put this on stuff and have the wine you like. And that will balance off any wine. Really?
If you like a little delicate piece of fish and you want a big bruiser kind of a wine, put this on your fish, grill it, saute it. You use this as you would salt. So whenever you would add salt to a dish, you just use this instead. It's just so freak. It's literally unbelievable.
Try that. And we've got a very interesting pairing with very big red wine, a 2005 Bordeaux that's predominantly Cabernet, and asparagus, which is the golden no-no.
No, asparagus and artichokes, and it works with artichokes too.
So asparagus with red wine is just like city. I'm a big asparagus fan, so this is exciting for me. Now tell me, and the Baniacs out there, what we did in Houston where we spray painted the tongue blue, and then you asked me all those series of questions, and then I held my breath and you made me feel good.
Good.
What happened with
that? To go see this, you can go to budometer.com. Budometer. Budometer.
Mott really likes to link stuff up.
Oh, do you? Okay. Link it. Okay, so here's what we found out. As I've also been taking a scientific approach to what's going on with the sort of cause and effect of wine and food. It's
Sure.
a presentation that I do and have done for years. And what we found, there were certain predictable things that would happen, but still there was a wild card that certain people, it's like they're tasting wine and they're like, it's like they're living in a different world. It's how can they be tasting the same thing? So I started working with scientists, and now this is my passion. I just so love this. I work with a researcher at Cornell, and she has about 1,100 taste buds per square centimeter. She's counted them. And her husband, 1,100, her husband has 6 taste buds per square centimeter. So what we've been looking at is the biological sensitivity, sensory sensitivity difference between individuals.
Right.
So there's a simple set of questions. Go to bodometer.com and you'll take the quiz. And when I did you in Houston,
I was scared.
you were scared. But it was
I was.
really, really great because I had just gone through this with a writer and you walked up.
Yep.
And as you remember, I asked you about how you take your coffee.
Yep.
And I had just told the writer the most hypersensitive of the hypersensitives, if they can even drink coffee, have to pour half of it out to make room for the cream and sugar,
Yep.
which was your response.
Yep.
So the rest of the questions then go through what's your relationship with salt. The more you love salt, the more hypersensitive you are. So actually the people dumping salt on their food have
Yep.
more taste buds, not less.
The one I loved was the diet soda thing. The only thing that I can't drink in the world at all is diet soda.
Because it tastes bitter for you.
At all. It was wild. That one really
Yeah.
struck me when you asked. Okay, so let's get into the
So
experiment.
what we found out was, and then
Go
the
ahead.
end of it is I actually, after the coffee thing, I started telling Gary what his answers would be, and then I
Why?
asked how his mom was, and she goes, "Fine, why?" I said, "Call her and apologize to her because you put her through massive distress with morning sickness." He goes, "Really?"
Called her. It
And he
was
called.
awesome.
I said, "Call her."
It was wild.
It's hi, Mom.
Yep.
No, everything's fine. Did you have any morning sick? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, I didn't say I'm sorry. I said,
So yeah, so anyways, people with more taste buds also that relates to how much
So
morning
you
sickness
now
your
know
mom
why I
had.
loved him so much, because he told me I was a super taster. So of course I love him.
A hypersensitive taster.
Hypersensitive taster.
I've got the stuff to see if you're a super taster, but that's another paradigm.
I need to jump that hurdle. So
That's it.
let's talk about what we have here. This
Okay.
is a wine that I'm actually pretty passionate about, talking about rules and misconceptions. This is a 2005 Bordeaux from the Paysac, Chateau Gazin Rocancourt. It's a 70% Cab, 20% Merlot, 10% Cab Franc blend. It's 25 US bones, which is a nice price point for 05 Bordeaux. It's an 89-point Wine Spectator rated wine, and this is what I love so much. I loved this wine, and we were pouring it at our super tasting, and it's been really fascinating to, not our super tasting, a different tasting was out, excuse me, and it's been fascinating to see how many people love this wine. It's another great example of where ratings don't, I mean, what, you know, for
I know.
I'm sure.
Well, but you know the idea, trust your palate, and
Yeah.
that, you know, and
I love that.
you more than anybody just saying, forget even what I say, trust your palate. What we're doing with this whole pedometer thing is we're actually helping people to understand their palate,
Which is
and
nice.
then have other trained professionals to understand how to use that information to better do things. Now it says on this here, right here,
Yep.
it says, "Servez ne pas avec asperges." So don't serve this with asparagus. I'm kidding. It doesn't say that.
it doesn't.
Okay. All
Okay.
right, so take a sip of the wine.
So what are we doing here?
So what we're going to do...
I've never seen you do this. So
All right. So
I see regular asparagus here.
and
Is this also
and
regular?
that
Or no, you cooked
and
them.
that has some vignon.
You did it.
Yeah, I nuked them together.
Got it. Okay.
And so try your wine.
Okay. You gonna try or no?
Sure. I'll smell it. We won't go into that. All right. Now that you've done all that, I'm actually
Let me jump in and do my normal thing,
please.
just for
Yeah.
you know, kicks and giggles. Really interesting, actually. Has almost a clear-cut mushroom component right on the initial attack. I get black mulberry, which is just a gorgeous fruit, by the way. If you've never had it, you ever had mulberry? Love
Just in the Gardenicopia, just melt in your mouth. Oh,
fundamental
phenomenal.
rule if you want to get
find
in.
a mulberry.
Yeah, you've got to get mulberries into your palate just so you can recognize them. Really gorgeous upfront fruit, gorgeous mid-palate, very drinkable, which is shocking for such a youthful wine. Great length finish. This is the third time I've had this wine recently. I'm just continuously blown away. We normally don't put wines on a Thunder show that I've had before, but since it's really a prop in today's episode, I just figured it was kind of passionate. You know, he's passionate about this, and I'm very passionate about the 89-point wines. The insanity of people not buying 89-point wines because they're 1 point lower.
It's a 10-point spread with a 1 point differential.
Here's what's scary. Here's what's scary. 89-point wines actually sell worse than 88-point wines. There's something about it's like the runner-up syndrome. It's like the people that made fun of the Buffalo Bills in the 90s.
Kidding.
They made 4 straight Super Bowls, and people make fun of them. You go make 4 straight Super Bowls. Heck, I want to make 1, Mott. Can I get 1 Super Bowl? So it's kind of like the 89...
Something inherently attractive about 2 8s versus an 8 and a 9.
Possibly visually, but I really think it's just that people think to themselves, oh, this wasn't good enough to be a 90. You know, kind of like that. Anyway, I really adore this wine. Good fruit, good luscious, mulberry. I like it.
Okay, so you're sitting there, you're having that with your steak and your lamb or your whatever you're doing, and there's some nice asparagus on it. So just take a bite of asparagus.
Happily.
Good asparagus. Nice and
Good.
fresh. And you're sitting there sipping your wine.
Oh, so green. Okay.
Yep. And what happens?
The bitterness starts coming out. It obviously pops to the forefront. It also gets a little bit muted on the back end. It becomes kind of blasé on the back end. I'll tell you what, this wine has a lot of... I'm a funny character. I may not be the most ideal person on earth to do this test because I so don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so intrigued by... First of all, you know, I love Chinon and, you know, green... I almost am looking for this coming through. But clearly, for somebody who was excited about the luscious mulberry blackcurrant flavors, they're gone.
Yeah, and the idea that you really ought to lay it down for a couple years to take that edge off it and whatever, it's suppressing the fruit, it's making the bitterness stronger.
On the finish, you're getting a higher tannic, bitter green component clearly, but it's a bitterness factor. It's not just, oh, it's asparagus flavor and red wine. You definitely feel a chemical thing going on, is the best way I could put it, to where the bitterness is coming through on the back end.
Yeah, and that it's all relative to the umami taste phenomenon. So there's a lot of umami taste in the asparagus. Now you can't taste it in the wine. We just got funding to actually do the research to prove.
I know you've been passionate about that.
That's great.
Okay.
All right, try some flavor-balanced asparagus.
Okay.
So and this
First
is
of
just...
all, I like it better because there's salt in here.
Yeah, and it actually tastes like there's dressing on it now. I mean, it really gives you the smoothness. All right, that's enough. All right, now try your wine again. Work.
That's pretty neat.
Isn't that cool? So Chef John Ash, you know, he invested in the company when he tried it.
So...
He calls it the magic part powder.
There is no doubt about it, and I don't know what the whole concoction is, and I'm sure you guys spent a lot of time on that. It definitely reverts back closer to the way it tasted prior to the asparagus. The mulberry black fruit, the fruit of the wine, dissipated with the straight asparagus, comes back with this...
So the whole thing is and literally... this is a new benchmark of how flavors are balanced, again, by Jeremiah Tower, John Ash, Sarah Scott, Jerry Comfort at Beringer, Michel Trauma at L'Aubergeade Les Loges in Puy-Moral, France, with 3-star Michelin chef.
I'm listening.
And so we've got all these chefs who completely agree. It's 26 ingredients total in there.
I like the mushroom powder.
Yeah, and it's shiitake mushrooms. It's dried shiitake mushrooms. There's carrots, onions, tomato, butter flavor, and on and on. So it's like a whole recipe of stuff. If you make a salad, put half the dressing in and a little bit of this, and it'll be like you got twice as much dressing. Use it as a dry rub on ribs. Put it on your steak when you're grilling it. Use it on fish. There's a killer recipe with like a half pint of cream,
Let me ask you a
some
question.
of this, some mushrooms, sherry, and...
How many people have rolled up on you and said, bullshit? I mean, really, like, to me, you come across, you know, there's so many of these products out, right?
Yeah,
the Ventoria,
yeah.
There's
and
so
the
many
magnets.
wine gadgets going on.
Yeah.
How many people, you know, to me, when you taste this, there's clearly something going on. That being said, there's clearly something going on with the magnets, too. The copper affects the wine component. To me, listen, I just, you know, really, at the end of the day, I love you and you're a great guy, but I would be more than happy as they know to come and say, well, I don't really taste, because I can't, put out 600 shows. I can't sit here and bullshit. That being said, the fruit does come back. No
Right.
doubt about it. On the back end palate especially. I get the blackberry and that black fruit that I kind of lost here where it got real bitter. But how many people come up to you and say, really what you're just doing is creating some sort of sensation? I mean, to me, it's like, to me, what now is curious and what I may do on the Thunder Show is come back and do this exact experiment maybe with just salt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, well, you actually, I teach, this is easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put some lemon and salt on your hand, try a tannic wine, lick your hand, try the wine, and the wine gets smooth as a baby's butt. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what it is. And the two sciences behind it, one, salt suppresses bitterness. That's why people who are more hypersensitive to bitterness want more salt. It's as simple as that.
Makes sense.
The other thing is, this is how they cook in Bordeaux. This is how they cook in Tuscany, in Alsace, and everywhere else. You will always find a high level of salt and high level of acidity. It's inherent in what they do. So if you get a bistecca alla fiorentina, it's a big ass porterhouse, heavily.
You brought the thunder there.
Yeah, thunder, and they serve it with lemon. Mm-hmm. And because it makes the wine and everything in Alsace is very heavily salted, lots of vinegar. In Burgundy, they use verjus and wine reductions.
Sure.
In Bordeaux, anything à la Bordelaise is finished at the end with the lemon juice. This just makes it simpler. This is already done and adjusted, and it
just
works.
Made for you.
But you can do it at home too. Well, I'll teach you how. Come to my house.
You'll come over?
Yeah.
You doing a lot of touring? You going to be anywhere? Want to let any of the Vaniacs know?
Well, we got we've got a scientific conference at.
But you do a lot of
at
wine
Copia.
events.
I don't have anything on the
roll
slate
up.
right now, unless you're going to be in Napa on the 8th. We're going to do a Discovery Day, and actually, Chef John Ash, Sarah Scott, and myself are going to do a whole teach you how to do this.
Are these Sarah and John? Are these guys? Are they vested interest in the product? Do they have
They're
financial?
partners.
They are partners.
Yeah.
Just want to keep
Yes,
it.
they are.
I'm a transparent kind of dude. Just want to make sure.
I got it.
I had no idea, but I wanted they've got brought up enough.
Yeah, and our partners are really cool. We're having a blast with this. I mean, there are a lot of gadgets, but this actually makes your food taste way better.
Right.
Period.
This comes a lot from from your chef background, huh?
Oh, totally.
I can see the food
Yeah.
inside of you just erupting.
Well, that's the additional benefit. It's all these little secrets of flavor with the shiitake mushrooms, the Parmesan cheese, the soy sauce. Very subliminal, so when you cook with it, it kind of disappears.
Can you leave this with me so I can have
Yeah.
some? You know what? We're going
Absolutely.
to have some people try on Saturday in the store.
Yeah, absolutely. And
do that.
I'll tell you what, this is the easy delivery system for the holidays.
What the heck is this?
This is Vignon almonds. Now try your wine.
Come on.
Now this isn't the. You know how a lot of the cheeses will do what the asparagus did?
Yes, very much.
All right. So I actually was talking to somebody this morning, and she said, "Oh, you've got to try this. Chop the Vignon almonds and mix them with goat's cheese."
Really?
And she said, "We'll have to do that after this." She said, "It's just dynamite, and the texture and everything. They're friggin' delicious, aren't they?"
What do you tell people? There's a lot of Vaniacs that email me. I'm jumping ship
Yep.
now. That they want to take the Master of Wine course. What are your current state of affairs with Master of Wine course?
Oh, go to well, first of all, go to the website mastersofwine.org. Mm-hmm. All right, and you can also email me. I don't know, is that too crazy? Yeah,
No.
Yeah, email me. Understand that it's a professional credential, so it's not an educational process. There is a 2-year study course to prepare people. That's a mandatory thing, but you have to already know pretty much all of the sciences, all of the business aspects of wine production, vineyard management, pest disease controls, and be able to argue it on a global platform. Say, okay, here's
You can't
how.
walk in blind.
No. Yeah, you've really got to be at the top of your game. The pass rate's less than 8%. So it can be very frustrating for a lot of people. And you really need to be, but there's also the Wine and Spirits Education Trust that you can take and a lot of things. And if anybody wants, I'll help you, figure out the steps to take to get there.
Come on, let's link up to his email. You grab that from him. Side little thing. Wine kind of was a secondary thing today. Really fascinating stuff. Just fascinating what the palate does and makes so
what
much
the brain
sense.
does.
And more importantly, just to finally understand what the rules are just... Anyway, On a side note, this Gazine is ripping good. In a vintage that was so special and a lot of critics loved and I thought was just brilliant. It's fun for me to see that there's still $25 wine out there. You hear 2005 Bordeaux and you all think that you've been priced out of the market. That's not true. We've had a $15 wine recently. It's happening. Go out and try some of these $10 to $30 2005 Bordeaux. I'll be honest with you, I think Mott and I could have made a great wine in 2005. The weather was just right. Question of the day.
Yes.
You get to ask the Maniacs a question. What would you like to know, the tens of thousands of people that are watching, what would you like them to answer? Any question about anything in the world. Doesn't even have to be on the subject matter. Go!
Who's your mama?
Who's your mama?
Who's your mama? Yeah. And respect
names.
your mama. Protect your wine investments and love your mama.
I love that. I can't wait to see all the moms'
There you go.
names.
Do you love your mama? If you don't love your mama, love your mama.
You,
You.
with a little bit of me, and wild characters like this, we're changing the wine world.
We are. And it's fun.
Indeed.